This morning, I woke up to an email that said the blood work results from last Friday's physical exam were in. And at first glance, the numbers were alarming. Not because anything was critical, but because I didn't understand what I was looking at. And when I read the numbers and the figures and the percentages on panels like cholesterol, CBC auto differential, comprehensive metabolic pattern, hemoglobin, the main one, prediabetes, I took a hit to my nervous system. I'm 55. All of my life, my blood work came back with great numbers. So to see a new reality, it frightened me. And the only notation that the doctor offered was watch your diet and increase activity. That's it. No explanation, no context, no plan. Okay, so what does that mean exactly? So today, for the first time ever, I had to do a deep dive into researching these terms and what the numbers meant. What I quickly learned was that the numbers themselves weren't as alarming as they seemed, and that pre-diabetic marker was low-key like catastrophized. My number is at the border of zero point 0.0 points over normal, but my glucose levels since my last physical drifted slightly upwards. So I'm like, say that. So basically, my body isn't failing the way I thought it was. And I just figured, yeah, I'm probably consuming more sugary foods. But in my research, I learned that A1C, which is a big focus lately, is more than sugar related. It's attributed to stress, hormones, less sleep, cortisol, glucose levels being normal. And when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I've been under stress, concerned about my finances, concerned about my next steps of employment, going to bed late, waking up early, and my fitness routine to swim 2 or 3 times a week has been flaky, but I have been walking 30 to 40 minutes 6 days a week. So this blood test, unlike ever before, was a wake-up call to understand the 55-year-old body that I occupy today and what it's longing for overall wellness. I went from an early morning stress response of waiting for the test results to not knowing what it meant to interpreting everything as danger. And the realization is that it's no longer wise for me to react to things in such an extreme way because my body pays the price. I would say I've taken health for granted all my life because I've always been incredibly active. But being 55, it's like, hey sis, you need to pay more attention so that you won't have any battles later on in life. I'm proud of myself for taking the time to understand what each marker actually meant, what was mildly elevated, and what was still in range, and what was just simply information. Because once I had context, then my body settled. Nothing catastrophic, nothing required panic, but some things require attention. And what stood out most was how much stress impacts our overall health, especially in midlife. And it's not just emotional stress, but it's cumulative stress, financial stress, environmental stress, hormonal shifts, years of pushing instead of slowing down and listening. Because your body keeps the score, right? So today's blood results weren't about fixing myself. It was about how do I support my system going forward? The adjustments I need to make now. Like lowering inflammation, stabilizing my blood sugar, regulating my nervous system. And that's a very different mindset than punishment or restriction. In my readings, I found that I am doing some things well. Slower mornings, hydrating with warm water as soon as I wake up, eating a balanced breakfast with protein and fiber, and not rushing into the day already activated. Meditation. It's all about simple changes and consistent ones. It's not about perfection, but it's about support. And I'm sure I am not the only 55-year-old who's been overwhelmed by medical results. But this is a reminder for us all to slow down and do our own research. Because information without explanation can feel like danger. But clarity creates calm. And at 55, or actually at any age, our nervous system thrives with less attacks. This isn't medical advice, okay? I'm not a doctor. It's just my lived experience of what happened this morning. But I'm reminding you to ask questions, advocate for yourself, and pay attention to the stress in your life. Those friends who trauma dump on you, They might have to go or have limited access. What this experience reminded me of is simple. Protect your nervous system, protect your peace, and don't let confusion convince you that something is wrong, like it did for me today. It's listening better.